dearest Miss Clark. My name is Rose Harrison.
You don't know me, but I know you. I was a dear friend of your grandmother Emma. I knew her like the back of my hand, and we shared some of our fondest memories together in the house where you now live. I miss her deeply. I was nearby the day you moved into the house. You reminded me of her. Your resemblance is undeniable. Since last winter, however, I haven't been able to go out anymore. I fell ill, but I am not afraid, because when my time comes, I will meet my dear Emma again. It is my wish for you to be the one who takes care of her most precious belongings. It will not be good if they fell into the wrong hands. I believe you will understand. As you can imagine, these are just a few of the objects I treasure from my time with her, but I think they are enough for now. After all, the beauty of life lies in taking time to appreciate the details slowly and exploring what is in front of us to the fullest. Many times, even the most evident becomes invisible.
It is extraordinary how the little details can change it all. Today Mother sent me to the market. It was sunny, so I invited Rose. Aunt Florence always tells us to pay attention to our surroundings and observe the little details. So we picked little white flowers, searched for four-leaf clovers, and greeted ladybirds. We walked along the creek and sat down for a few minutes with our eyes closed, listening to the music of the running water and the flapping of birds' wings. Rose dipped her hand into the water and took a beautiful round stone. She placed it in my basket and said, "Petramentum cor." I was, of course, not surprised by these words. I had been there myself when Aunt Florence taught them to us. But for this one, I was, as always, curious about its meaning. Holding hands, spinning and dancing, we began the final stretch home. "I wish I could spend every day like this, Rose," I told her in a voice full of despair. She looked at me and said again, "Petramentum cor." This stone is a token of my friendship and of all these memories that now live in your heart. You can fetch them any time you need them. Remember Aunt Florence's words. Whenever you need to lay the table, add flowers and candles and choose your favorite crockery and tablecloth. Whenever you need to dust, pay attention to the dust particles dancing in the sunlight. Whenever you need to wash, pay attention to the sound of the water and how it feels on your skin, and you will remember our time by the creek. And whenever you need to sweep, remember that you are my favorite witch. Last weekend we visited Aunt Florence again. I marvel at her knowledge, her unique style, and of course, her darling dresses. I've never seen someone like her in my life. I am sure our mammas would forbid our visits if they knew everything she taught us. I believe that is why she asks us never to reveal her secret words and peculiar habits. She even dresses and behaves differently when she visits Rose's family or when she meets us where we alight the carriage. But then, as soon as we are in her carriage, she seems to turn into someone else, full of life and spirit. When we arrived at her home, her maid Bonnie, as she calls her, showed us to our room. But Aunt Florence said the house wasn't ready yet, not until we have given it the fairy blessings together. As soon as I heard those words, I knew we were going to have a wonderful time at her place. Bonnie brought a tray full of items and joined us for the ritual. On the tray, there was a pot, oranges, a bunch of lavender, some sprigs of thyme, and a few small balls. Aunt Florence took a bottle of water from the cupboard behind her, saying it was magical water. When we were ready, we held hands and Aunt Florence began her spell. She expressed gratitude for her home, for our visit, for Bonnie, for the water and the flowers. She talked about being kind and grateful, especially for nature. And finally, she whispered to the fairies and asked them to keep the house in harmony and our spirits content and lively. I do not remember all her words, but she finished her enchantment with "In Cordon." She said it means a happy place. She then placed the pot over the fire. It soon began to spread a lovely fragrance throughout the room, and we could enjoy a cup of tea and scrumptious pastries while bathed in the sweet, fresh aroma. As we followed Aunt Florence to her library, Bonnie poured the mixture into smaller bowls and carried them to the different rooms, perfuming and blessing the entire house. Dear Mrs. Harrison, I have no words to describe the joy you have brought into my life by sending me my grandmother's belongings. Reading her diary and learning more about her has somehow made me understand more about myself, and I have the feeling that she's here, guiding me. I still have a lot to discover, but in every story, on every page, I can see how beautiful your friendship was and how memorable your time was together. There are so many questions I would like to ask you. How did you two meet? Did you know my grandfather? I'm so intrigued by it all, but especially the scroll about a pact, the Dandelion Pact. What does that mean? I'm so glad I reminded you of my grandmother. I do not believe I am as special as you and my grandmother, though. I do not have a kindred spirit as you both did. I do not have many friends, and most people think I am weird. But I seek solace in reading her stories, and they motivate me to create a meaningful life. I wish you a prompt recovery, and I hope I can visit you soon. With love, Winifred. It has been a delightful summer. We were allowed to spend most of our time with Aunt Florence. She is as wise as she is mysterious. She always leaves us with the utmost curiosity. Today, she said she had a surprise for us. She told us to take a basket and go to Bonnie, who would help us find some fabrics. Bonnie was baking a pie and the kitchen smelled scrumptious. She took us to the wardrobe and gave us a couple of fabrics. She also gave us candles. We were most intrigued. When we met Aunt Florence in the library, one of her cabinets was open and she was holding a book in her hands. Inside the armoire, there were dozens of books and papers. She lifted the cover of the book, exposing that it was not a real one. It was a hidden place for a key. She picked it up and drew back a heavy velvet curtain, revealing an arched wooden door. The key unlocked the door and we entered the room after her. The chamber was rather dark, but somehow it felt warm, joyful and welcoming. There was a large table with at least 10 chairs. Hanging from the walls there were beautiful paintings, most of them of flowers and meadows. Aunt Florence began to talk.
This is where my friends and I meet from time to time. The next gathering will be in autumn, and I would be delighted if you do join us. It will be a very special occasion, so bring the dress you love the most.
Rose and I were astonished and could barely speak. We knew that Aunt Florence wouldn't tell us more than she wanted, so we didn't ask her anything.
Oh, and think of the name of a flower that you like that has a special meaning to you, she added before changing the subject. Now, my little witches, it is time to learn and have fun.
Aunt Florence began to examine the fabrics we had brought and tied a knot on each side. She pointed to a corner of the room, and we could see that hooks were hanging from the walls. She then released the cord that fell from the ceiling and fastened the fabrics together, forming a canopy. We lit candles and opened a little secret window hidden behind a brass air vent. Thin rays of sunlight seeped through the tiny holes, bathing the long table in a warm golden glow. Aunt Florence took some books and illustrations from the cabinet, which we read thoroughly in our comfortable nook until tea time. I wish I could write everything that we have discovered today, but it is rather late and my eyes can barely see anymore. Tomorrow morning we will ask Aunt Florence about these women we read about, and we will also tell her that Rose and I have already thought about the flower we will choose for the gathering. It will be a dandelion.
My dearest Winifred, it made me very happy to know that you will treasure her things. Emma kept them safe for a very long time. When she passed away, your grandfather gave them to me. You asked how I met your grandmother. We went to the same school together, but our true friendship began a few weeks later when she was the only one in class who didn't laugh at me when I entered the room wearing one of Aunt Florence's hats. She thought it fascinating. She was so curious about it. I see you are curious like her too. The dandelion bat. You must forgive me, my dear, but I am afraid that if I tell you about it, I will be breaking it myself. I am sure you will find out more about it soon. Isn't it wonderful to know that there is always something new to learn awaiting? I will be leaving Vermont Hill this week. My son is taking me to his house in Rivervale. They have a lovely garden where my sweet granddaughter Chloe reads to me. I will stay there until my condition improves. When we were young, Emma used to bake biscuits for me when I was unwell. I hope you find her recipes among her pages one day. They were truly delicious. You said you feel Emma is guiding you by your side. I have had the same feeling for more than 20 years. I have no doubt she takes care of us. But whenever you feel otherwise, remember that our loved ones never leave us if we allow them to live in our hearts. Affectionately, Rose.
I haven't seen Rose since last Friday. She was taken ill soon after we came back from Aunt Florence's house. I am not allowed to visit her yet, so I decided to send her her favorite biscuits to remind her how special she is to me and how much I miss her company. I always bake her something sweet when she is feeling unwell. She adores it when I read her favorite books at the foot of her bed while she sips her tea and enjoys her pastries. I am convinced that is how she recovers every time. I will ask my mama to help me decorate a little box for the biscuits. Perhaps I should paint a dandelion. Rose and I are very much looking forward to the gathering at Aunt Florence's, and we can hardly think of anything else. I might write her a story too. She always liked my poems and tales. This time, I might write an autumn story. I would love to write about leaves and branches, and I can imagine the moments again. Aunt Florence is right, my grandmother wrote. People spend plenty of time dealing with what they believe are important matters when, in fact, they are neglecting the most valuable things we have. When I'm older, she added, I want to have my heart full of sweet memories, sunrises and sunsets, the fragrance of sun-dried clothes, the earthy smell of rain on the ground, the feeling of the wind caressing my hair, the sound of birds singing and the river running free. My stories would be so uneventful if none of those existed. Perhaps one day someone will write my story, so I have to make sure it is a good one. And here I am, Grandma, writing your story, and I'm happy to say that it was a good one, and one that is inspiring mine. This is the last night we will spend at Aunt Florence's. Rose always says that leaving her house is like waking up from a beautiful dream. We will miss her sorely. The next time we see her, it will be autumn. We can't wait to be part of the gathering and meet Aunt Florence's friends, especially Agatha. Agatha was the first one we read about. She is the one who paints her friends' portraits. In her picture, she has a long black plaid to her side, adorned with flowers and green leaves. She painted Aunt Florence with a beautiful white bonnet tied under her chin and her blonde curls dancing in the wind while holding a bouquet of lavender. Each woman had her own pages with the portrait, name, the name of the flower, the powers, phrases, and what appeared to be recipes or rituals, like the fairy blessings we did on the first day of our visit some time ago. Bonnie was included in the book too, and she was also holding lavender. A woman named Cassandra had the most pages. She was painted with angel wings and carrying white flowers. Her powers were harmony and optimism, and she was a specialist in spiritual matters and contemplation. Aunt Florence also keeps letters and records of other gatherings, several books mainly on botany and science, and dozens of sketches. By the time we had finished reading everything she had given us, it was almost tea time. She and Bonnie joined us. Rose asked them if they could tell us more about their friends. Aunt Florence looked at Bonnie and smiled. Then she said,
We are just a group of friends that others might call reformers or even witches. But if we are, it is not because of divine or mystical powers, but because of our actions and the way we choose to live our lives. We found each other when we needed to.
She paused and took a sip of tea.
We used to think that what we had in common was that we were once laughed at, threatened, or discouraged because we were different. But today, we believe that it was our perseverance, kindness, and uniqueness that brought us together.
Hearing on Florence's words was truly inspiring to my grandmother Emma. Kind, unique, and persevering, that is exactly what she became. When they finished their tea, Aunt Florence invited them to her attic, where they danced and sang until sunset. On the following morning, the girls left for Bermohill with a heavy heart, but as Aunt Florence one told Rose, and Rose one told my grandmother, all those memories will live in their hearts forever. Dear Miss Clark, I hope you do not find it intrusive that I have read your correspondence with my grandmother. Our dear Rose passed away last week. We thought she was recovering from her illness. She seemed to be in very good spirits, quite content and pleased, but unbeknownst to us, her condition was worsening. She was able to enjoy your generous gift, and we spent many hours together in the garden. Some days before her passing, while I was reading to her under the trees, she told me about an old box in Bermouth Hill and asked me to get in contact with you. She said you will be able to explain some things to me and that I should send you the box before my parents clear the house. That is why I read your notes. I have never been good at writing letters, and I have never had too many friends. But reading yours has comforted my heart, and I feel I can trust you. I do not know what my grandmother was hiding, but I do know that she must have a good reason for it. She was the kindest person I knew, and even though she never saw eye to eye with my parents, she and I had a lot in common, and I loved her dearly. As soon as I arrange my transportation to Vermont Hill, I will let you know when I plan to send you the box. Yours sincerely, Chloe Harrison. Dear Chloe, thank you for your letter. I am truly sorry to hear about Rose. I became very fond of your grandmother over the last couple of weeks. I never had the opportunity to meet her, nor my grandmother Emma, but I have learned plenty about them recently. They were kind and special people, and their friendship was a true gift to the world. They are together now. I do not have any doubt about it. Since you will be in bed, Mathilde, I was wondering if you would like to come over for tea. I believe it would be better if I showed you everything in person. Besides, I would very much enjoy some company. And remember, as your grandmother wrote to me, I our loved ones never leave us if we allow them to live in our hearts. I look forward to hearing from you. Sincerely, Winifred Clark. Dear Winifred, thank you for your kindness. I shall treasure your words in my heart forever. I will be delighted to visit you and meet a dear friend of my grandmother's. I shall be in Bermond Hill in 10 days. I will collect the box and head to yours. Thank you, Winifred, for being a ray of sunshine during these difficult times. I am looking forward to meeting you. Affectionately, Chloe.
Live a little, flip the page, give it some more, getting out of my way. I was hiding, bulletproof, forever waiting. Then came you. I thought I was what I've been told. I thought I was. I thought I was what I've been told. I thought I was. I was picking up the pieces of yesteryear's life, in over my head, trying to figure out. I was going through changes, where to begin, when a mountain moving revelation came marching in. I thought I was what I've been told. I thought I was. I thought I was what I've been told. I thought I was.
This is a story of my grandmother. Or perhaps it is my own. Perhaps it is just a story about being inspired and inspiring others with our actions. My grandmother once wrote that even when our hearts are full of joy, even if we had learned to see beauty in the simplest things, even when we have finally succeeded in embracing our true selves, and even when we do not fear to show our true colors, it can always get better if we share it with a kindred spirit. No matter how long it might take you to find them, they are out there, looking forward to meeting you and sharing the magic of life with you. Isn't it wonderful how just a small detail can change it all? What a wise woman my grandmother was. Each thing I find out about her opens a whole new world, and I am sure there is still plenty more to discover.